Good afternoon.
Easy talking.
Welcome to the Black Gypsy Movie Review. As you know, I'm comedian Devontae Green, and I'm bringing you my review of good cinema. I don't go to the movie theaters often, so the fact that the first review I'm bringing you is something that's in the movie theaters right now should tell you something. Listen, it's Denzel, baby. All right, Denzel hasn't had an afro since he got game. Shout out to Jesus Shuttlesworth. Over the holiday weekend, I thought to myself, you know, it'd be a tremendous idea. Let's get stoned, let's get Chinese food, and let's go see Denzel in the movie theater. And I did that. It was tremendous, baby. It was all worth that $12.50. That's right. This week we are reviewing Roman, J.Israel, the latest picture from director Dan Gilroy, which you might know from NightCrawler. A couple thoughts just right off the idea. What got me excited to go see Roman J.Israel? First of all, Denzel had an afro. We haven't seen that since he got game. Secondly, there's only so many actors that you look at and you go, I have to go see that picture. I think it's, for me, Denzel Washington, Ryan Gosling, and now anything that Viola Davis is in, I will absolutely go see. They've earned my $12.50, and it ain't $12.50 because you got to get the popcorn, you got to get the soda, so you're getting banged out. But it's worth it when Denzel Washington is in the theater. The first thing that drew me into Denzel with this role was that his name, the name of the title, and the title of the character is Roman J.Israel. It sounds very biblical. And if you look at the trailer of the movie, the trailer is really well done. It has Kendrick Lamar's eye in it, so it just gets you all into that mode. I think the trailer draws you in and makes you think that this movie is something that it absolutely is not. This movie isn't a law movie. This movie isn't about the legal system. This movie isn't about justice. This movie, in a microcosm, is really about one's own self and your journey to live up to your own morals and your own beliefs. We first meet Roman soon after he's found out that his long-term partner and that his good friend has had a very massive illness befall him. And like every black guy, heart attack or stroke, right? Denzel's character is he's on a spectrum somewhere, right? We don't really know, and I think that Dan Gilroy does a really great job of not even using, the tics of Roman J.Israel as a plot point at all. In fact, I think that the director does a really great job of allowing the greatness that is Denzel Washington to explore what is this character and its many complexities. I think that the first thing that'll strike you when you see this film is really just the complexity of Roman. Roman is not very much of a likable character, but he's a good character, and you know that from the very beginning. I think that you go into the movie thinking you're going to see Johnny Cochran Jr., and that's not what you're getting here. You're actually getting someone who's the opposite of Johnny Cochran, who his partners would not allow him to practice law. The one time that we saw Denzel practice law on Roman J.Israel was the one time that he got kicked out of the courtroom. So we see, why he's not actually able to do what he's so good at and gifted at. In fact, Denzel is so good at what he does, he stays in the back and he does all the actual X's and O's of lawyer work, and he's working on a big brief. And through the movie, he's carrying around this class action lawsuit, and he wants to reform the criminal justice system, but he doesn't have the means to do it. And I think that one of the things you take away, one of the big themes that you take away is, following your beliefs, following what you believe in and knowing what you believe in. I think that, this movie points out if you don't often have internal dialogue with yourself about where you're going, where you could end up and where do you see yourself, you could get washed away in the sea that is everything else out there. I'm not a very religious person, but I have spoken to people who've seen the film and they've told me about the religious aspects of this. And Roman is a disciple of Jesus. He is a living disciple of Jesus. Through this film, one of the things that strikes you is that Denzel's character is he's the catalyst to change Colin Farrell's character, right? So Denzel's the main actor, and by definition, he's the protagonist, but he's actually the antagonist to Colin Farrell. I think, by the way, shout out to Colin Farrell. I haven't seen you in a movie in a very long time. I don't even know what's the last movie Colin Farrell has been in, but Colin Farrell came into this film and he absolutely, popped back in my mind, and I went, man, there goes that young Colin Farrell again. And Denzel's gotten so old now that, anybody looks young compared to him. But Denzel's character plays an antagonist to Colin Farrell's character, and they're not in competition with each other. That's one of the cool things about the dynamic of that relationship is that, one, you really only have 4 characters in this movie, and everyone else just kind of drops in for a second and goes away. So it kind of gets back to, if you enjoy Fences, the exhaustive work of actual dialogue and acting. It seems like that's kind of the theme that this film is taking back here. But by doing so, with having so few characters, you really get to focus on the characters that you do have. And so you have Roman, you have George Pierce, who's played by Colin Farrell. And then let's introduce Maya. Maya is played by the beautiful Carmen Ejogo, and she is the, antagonist to Roman, and she appeals to Roman's higher self, right? She plays a young, beautiful, upstart activist, attorney, civil rights, fighter who, needs that guidance, needs that assistance from someone who's a little bit further down the road than she is, and she does a great job at respecting Roman and seeing that he's a broken man and he needs a little bit of help as well. And I guess any role that a great woman plays, which is building up that guy. And Denzel plays the great role in living up to the expectations that she built up for him. Look, here's kind of some of the simple things that you should probably know about Roman J. Israel, right? If you aren't religious, you're probably going to miss some of the religious overtones in the movie. Again, I'm a pretty big movie guy, and it was striking to me to see that as I'm watching the film and I'm watching this great dialogue and character development and plot development, I felt like there was something that I was missing. I couldn't be more remiss by the fact that I went, man, I'm missing something here. So there's just something to think about as you watch the movie. Another thing to think about as you watch this movie is that the background of this movie is that Dan Gilroy developed this script, this role, this character, this movie specifically for Denzel Washington. And he said that if Denzel wouldn't have played the character, he would not have done the movie. And again, Dan Gilroy is coming off of NightCrawler, which was a fantastic movie, and I'm sure most of you have seen. So he had kind of the pick of the litter on what projects he could bring to light and what projects he could work on. So this was a very important project in the sense of this kind of brings Denzel back to the Book of Eli, right? So if you remember the Book of Eli, that's kind of got some very heavy religious overtones over it. And then you find out that Denzel is in fact himself a very religious person. And so I think that's what helped him play this character phenomenally well. Some of the things that stood out to me is that what Denzel Washington does acting-wise is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Okay, I'm going to say right now, Oscar nominee for Best Actor right now is Denzel Washington. Now, I would not nominate this movie for Best Picture, but I would nominate this movie for Best Lead Actor in Denzel Washington, because what Denzel plays is he doesn't play Denzel, man. He ain't cool like he was in Flight, even though he was a junkie, right? He's not aloof like the great debaters. Denzel plays a loser. Denzel plays a broken man. Denzel plays an unlikable person. And he does it very well. He does it. I mean, there's a scene when Roman is being robbed and he's getting beat up, and Denzel just, Roman's character just screams. He just starts screaming, "You got the wrong guy. You got the wrong guy." It's very heartbreaking, because what you're seeing through this transformation is a man who's just been beaten up by the world. He has his beliefs, but at a certain point, you decide you're going to start taking lumps and you're going to start dishing out something, right? And that's what you see through Roman J. Israel. And you really get to see someone who weighs out being productive and not being productive, being religious, being faithful to one's duty and one's sense of purpose, and not being faithful to one's duty and one's sense of purpose. And I think that's what this film is about. Another thing is that you really get to see... I think this film has a little bit of good social commentary on the political activism climate of today. Denzel being a former activist, Roman being a former activist himself in the film, is asked to speak to some current activists in today's sense, and they're really disrespectful, I think. He's a little bit, hard to get a grasp on, hard to get a sense on, but you get to see what I think is some of the problems in the civil rights movements of today, which is, a lack of respect of those who came before you, and a real misunderstanding. Is that even a word? Let me check. A real misunderstanding of the nuances of life, right? And so you got this guy, Denzel Washington, who could have been their greatest asset, who could have been Roman J. Israel, who could have been their greatest asset, basically be mocked and shunned away by folks who clearly didn't have the same passion or the same fervor that his generation had. And so you ask, well, what is all this progress is about? And in fact, Denzel leaves, and Maya and Denzel have a great intimate conversation afterwards where Denzel kind of questions, they don't get it. What is this about? Are they here for the long term? Are they here to sustain change? Or are they just here to say that they did something? See, and that goes back to the existential questions that Denzel had been fighting himself the whole movie of, is this what my life calling is? This misery, this hard work? Or eventually, do you get off the train? Right? So the same way that someone gets sick and they have to question things, the sickness of his close friend and business partner really throws a lot of things in limbo there for Mr. Washington. That's my review of Roman J. Israel in a nutshell. You got a quick synopsis. Didn't really want to give away too much of the movie and some of the main plot points of the movie, but did want to go over it for some of you all who are wondering, what is Roman J. Esquire? Roman J. Israel, Esquire, right? Well, what is that? See the movie. You'll get the definition for Esquire. Nobody knows. Here's another thing. This is a key part of the movie. You're going to need one of these, right? You're going to need one of these to remind yourself who you are. You need a pick. You pick that hair out and you go to work just like Roman J. Israel. So that's mine, the Black Gypsies review of Denzel Washington's performance of Roman J. Israel. I think you should go see it. It's a great film and one of the better films that I did see this year. Thank you. Have a great day. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter at Devontae Green. I'm on Facebook at Devontae Green. Instagram, Devontae Green. That's DEVONTAEGREEN. That's right. We spell it properly. Not with an E on the end because we're not British, baby. And for all other needs, I guess you can catch me on Snapchat, Devontae Green. You see there? That's a brand, baby. You guys take care, and I'll try to come back next week with another movie review here from the Black Gypsy.
Easy talking.